Welcome to the Whiskey Vault.
I'm Rex.
I'm Daniel.
He's a level 3 whiskey sommelier.
Yeah, he's a Florida mooch.
It's not even, it barely makes sense.
We're drinking Florida whiskey.
Timber Creek, Bourbon, Florida.
Florida.
Just settle in, because he's going to go off on like a really long...
This is a science video.
I'm sorry.
All right.
You hit it so fast. Just give it a moment.
We're drinking Florida. Florida whiskey.
All right. So,
Wait, this is the last of the 12-year-old
it's water.
Lachlan. Oh, that's water.
That's
And
your
this
water.
is mine.
That's true. I don't know what this is. Off to a fantastic start. He had me pick the last. He had me pick 2 whiskeys,
Yes.
and
He blindly closed his eyes, put his finger down, and he stumbled onto Timber Creek, Florida whiskey.
so we pick it up, and it's like from Florida, and immediately I regret everything. And I can say that because I was just in Florida last week, so I'm like a local now.
All right, this is Timber Creek.
But we'll see if my prejudice has any bearing.
This is a reserve bourbon from Timber Creek in Florida. Now they've got 2 bourbons. They've got one that's a high wheat bourbon, and they've got this reserve bourbon. Then they have another different thing.
Okay. It's very
Got
exhaustive.
some sour notes.
Yeah.
They started in 2014. They're aging in, I think, smaller barrels. Aaron Barnes and Camden Ford, 2 buddies who had a shared affinity for whiskey, who started their own thing.
In Florida.
They're not just doing bourbon. They're doing rum. They're doing vodka. But they're also doing bourbon.
See, again, knowing that, it's like, they're not like focused.
Yeah,
specialized.
it's the
spreading-
elitist in you.
Yeah.
You know what?
We have established I'm an asshole.
You know the problem with that is that you have to make money. And whiskey takes a while to age. Whereas vodka doesn't.
So is that like a common thing?
It's a very common thing.
Oh.
It's a very common thing for a distillery to open and sell things it can make immediately
Yeah.
while they sit on the things that take time.
Okay.
Now,
So
there are 2 ways to solve that problem.
I've been brought back, once again, I'm brought back to neutral.
Yeah.
Pulling my prejudice.
There are 2 ways to solve that problem. Either you sell gin or vodka, right? Or moonshine. Or you buy somebody else's whiskey, like MGP, while you're waiting on your own whiskey to get old enough to start selling what you want.
Okay. I'm getting 2 different notes, both sour.
Now, all I'm getting is sour notes in this one.
That's what I said. 2 different notes, both sour.
They're both sour.
Yes.
I'm reiterating.
You don't listen to me anymore.
That's true. It's like a nagging wife.
I'm going to therapy.
We should do a therapy video.
And you're paying for it. I'm going in. Like the taste better than the smell.
It's pretty mild.
Yeah. I was expecting just to get kicked in the teeth with some sourness. It's there, but it's not off-putting.
What is it though? There's a note in there. Okay. So this is perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
So Thomas Graves.
Commenter.
We've talked a lot about Thomas in the last few videos.
Commenter, YouTube, yes.
So Thomas asked something which I think is extremely fair, and I think my dad would echo this. So I'm familiar with this conversation.
Sourdough.
Okay, wait, save that because I need to come back to that. He said, look, I'm trying to understand the complexity of whiskeys, and I tried the little tricks that you guys mentioned. But he's having a hard time picking apart the nuance and subtlety that we say we find. He's just tasting whiskey.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I don't find it, I have no obligation. Yeah. No, you're right, Daniel. Screw that guy. If it's not there, then I'm the one who's right.
Yeah, that's probably true. Okay, so here's what happens with tasting. Now this is, we're about to get sciencey, so settle in.
Can I sit down?
If you want to sit down, get a chair. We're about to get sciencey. Your right brain is responsible for pattern recognition. Your right brain doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't know reality from non-reality. It has no language function. It only speaks in images and colors and history and memories, right? Your left brain is the part of your brain that imposes structure on things.
Lemon. Sourdough and lemon. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that. Okay, so there are two things you need to pay attention to, Thomas. The first is that if you don't have the words for something, you will not experience it. Now, if you want to ask me about this, email me. It's daniel@whiskymarketing.org. And I will give you all of the science and the research and the books that you can read that prove if you don't have a word for a thing, your brain will not experience that thing. It sounds crazy, but it's totally true. And so one of the problems with new whiskey drinkers is they lack the language to quantify their experience. So they're having an experience, but because they don't have words to wrap around the experience, their brain basically ignores what's happening. So that's one thing. Let's set that aside. If you drink whiskey regularly, and you read what other people write, and you read what they talk about, and you drink it, and you try as hard as you can to recognize these things, and you try those things on their own, and you compare them, and you compare whiskey to whiskey, over months to years, you will develop patterns in your brain, in your ability to recognize things. And so what happens when you smell something for the first time is your right brain kicks into action first, because your nose sensors bypass critical thinking and they go straight to memory and emotion.
Cheesecake is what this would go well with.
Oh, no.
Sourdough.
I'm in on the smell of cheesecake.
So, what are you talking about? No.
Yeah, I'm in on the smell of cheesecake on this one.
Sourdough, lemon, some salt, and then if you're having cheesecake with this...
A good cheesecake or like a Jell-O no-bake?
Why would you ask stupid questions?
I like Jell-O no-bake. It goes with Florida whiskey. All right. Anyway, so your nose sensors go to your part of your brain responsible for memory and emotion and patterns, right? And so when you smell something, your right brain's going to try to throw up what it thinks it's experiencing first. If you're not paying attention and you're trying to rephrase what you're experiencing in whiskey-appropriate language, you will often shut down the right brain and you will miss out on experiencing something your right brain was trying to tell you, but that your left brain considered nonsense. I had a guy in a whiskey tasting pick up a glass and say, "Grandma. It smells like grandma." It took us about 10 minutes to realize he was talking about cinnamon. Cinnamon. Now, his grandma cooked with cinnamon and everything. So when he took a drink of whiskey and smelled whiskey, his left brain should have said cinnamon, because that's what was in there. His right brain said grandma, because that's the closest thing it could think of when it thought of cinnamon. So as you're tasting whiskey, be ready to allow your brain to come up with ideas that make no sense when you're thinking about whiskey, and then try to figure out why your right brain came up with that idea.
So we've established sourdough, lemon, a little bit of salt, and...
I'm not getting the lemon.
If you're having a good cheesecake, it's a good one to go with cheesecake, because it's the tartness, the sourness that pulls you away from that really deep, rich cheesecake. Yeah, lemon's totally there. It's behind the sourdough.
So I'm going to say something about this. What's weird to me about this whiskey is it reminds me of some really sour single malts, American single malts that I've had.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you an example. Swift. A Dripping Springs, just down the road from us.
Right.
A Dripping Springs single malt.
Right.
That's all sour.
Right.
That's what this is reminding me of.
Okay. No, it's sour notes. Absolutely.
I'm going to get Swift.
I'm establishing that there's not just a single sour note. Sourdough, a little bit of biscuity sourness in there. Lemon, can't believe you're not tasting the lemon. A little bit of salt. And...
I get the salt, I just don't get the lemon.
Okay. So this is Swift. I have enough of this one.
Now, I'm going to go on record as saying I'm not a fan of Swift.
Is that? Oh, that looked cloudy for a second.
It is cloudy.
It is cloudy?
Yeah, which is good. I mean, that means they're going after flavor instead of over-filtering. But there are people that I know that really love Swift. This is Dripping Spring Single Malt. I'm not one of them.
This is sour apple. This is more lemony. Swift.
To me, Swift smells like beer that got poured. Okay, beer that got poured out in the back room at a bar venue that I've played gigs
You mean
at.
the free beer that you can mooch?
Yeah, it just gets poured down the spilled beer going down the drain. If you've ever played, I spent decades as a professional musician, and I spent a lot of time in the backs of bars. And there's a smell in a bar kitchen, which is poured down the drain. To me, that's what Swift smells like, and I can't get over that.
See, I get the reputation for being an asshat, but
Yeah.
you're effortlessly brutal. At least my brutality.
Yeah.
It's surface level. You can tell. But with Daniel, he just so casually slips it in there. Then if you actually think about what he says, like, my God, man.
We've talked about this. I'm unintentionally rude. All right. Well, Thomas, hopefully that gives you some hope for the future. The good news is the only way to get good at noticing things in whiskey, drink more whiskey.
Right.
Best homework ever.
Right.
Good luck with that. All right. Till tomorrow, I'm your crazy stay this side illegal.
May you return before we have time to miss you. Hit some things for the buttons and whatever.
Cheers. Bye.